lovelies, and welcome back to the Lovely Digest here on YouTube. If you're new here, hi, my name is Emily. Thank you so much for joining us here today. If you're new, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. Today's topic is going through some questions with you guys. So I'm just going to be sitting here talking at you. So if you want to go ahead and treat this like podcast, please do. I'm straight out of the shower after being with horses all morning, so I'm looking a little rough, so please excuse me. I just really wanted to answer your questions as soon as possible and get this video out and edited to you guys. So to start, there was one question that was in my Ask Emily inbox for a little while, and I feel terrible because I only had the one question and didn't know if I should just answer it on YouTube. So I went ahead and asked you guys also on Instagram for a couple of questions. I'm going to do a little combination of both. So our first question is from Olive. She said, "Hi Emily, I love your blog and watching your YouTube videos." Thank you, that's so sweet. I was recently diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder, and I know one other person with this diagnosis, or she only knows one other person with this diagnosis. Even though I'm pretty sure I've had it for a long time, my journey so far with OCD has felt lonely and taboo in the sense that I don't feel I can share my experience with anyone openly, especially since I was diagnosed during a pandemic when many people are experiencing their own fears and anxieties. After learning about you and your story, I decided I wanted to create a community around OCD similar to the community you've created around Crohn's, but I'm not sure where to start. Any advice? Thank you. This is so sweet. Thank you so much for sending in your question. I know it's probably been really difficult to keep it to yourself. Definitely don't feel like you have to. I know that this wasn't your question, but your friends and family are there for support, and if anything during this pandemic we should be more open to one another asking for support despite our own problems, because talking about it is always a lot better and healthier for you than holding things in. I am the queen of holding things in, just ask my boyfriend. But so I hope you're doing well now, and you must be really brave and strong for managing this on your own while navigating this time. So I hope you're doing well. And I'm so happy. This is so touching. Like, I know there's not a lot of you here on Instagram and YouTube, but the fact that there's anyone here listening to me makes me feel so happy. And getting a message like this, seeing that the Lovely Digest has sparked something in you to create your own thing for your own community, there's no words for it. It's just really touching. So the good thing about wanting to start something now is that you might have a lot of extra time if you're working from home. So I just kind of set aside a lot of time, and I started a Google Calendar and just really got used to working in Google Calendar to organize my time. I tried out a couple of different apps to kind of help organize my time, but I just settled on Google Calendar as the most intuitive for me to use, and just began doing some searching on how to start. I went through a bunch of different blogs on lists of things to do before you start your own blog. It was just really helpful. One thing that I wish that I knew when picking my platform for a blog, I'm wondering if you even want to start a blog, but if you do, one thing that I wish I had looked into more was that I can't run AdSense on the personal Squarespace plan. Squarespace for me was really affordable, but also really beautiful and stylized, and so it made a really good platform for me. However, I didn't realize until after I bought and launched my domain, The Lovely Digest, I didn't realize that you can't run AdSense on the basic plan, and I didn't want to just upgrade to the business plan because it's just so small right now, and it's definitely just more for me. It's not a way to make money, but having AdSense established on your site might be something that you need, and for me it was something that I was looking for and just assumed that I could do, but I didn't do enough research in that area to know for sure. So that's something to keep in mind if you want to start a blog. Definitely in the future, if this takes off, then that would be an easy switch over, and I don't think that you can even make a lot of money off of AdSense to begin with, so it's not something that's super worrying. I think that it's better for me to have a more stylized blog as a designer than to have a WordPress site and AdSense. So it's more about personal preference, what's easier for you, what's easier for your audience. Do some research. I joined some Crohn's related groups and got to know people before I really started the Lovely Digest, so I already had people that knew that I was creating something and were really encouraging, so that I didn't just give up on it. I think if I went in on this by myself, then I probably would have just abandoned it. So there was a couple of people looking out for me, and then once I created it, the amount of support from my friends and family that came from it was so overwhelming and nice. And so that's what really kind of kick-started and got me into creating for the Lovely Digest. If you want to start an Instagram, it's just super easy and it doesn't cost money. For me, the blog is I see it more as a creative outlet for myself, so it's worth the money to me. It's just being transparent with you guys. I think it was $12 a month, so I just paid for the year, and then you get a free domain for the year, and to me that's worth it for having a way to express the pain when I'm in it and help others, which is the biggest goal for the Lovely Digest. So yeah, I can give you a whole ton more advice, a whole lot more advice if you want it. Let me know in the comments if you want me to keep talking about this. I can definitely write a full-blown blog post for you. So the second question that I got was on Instagram, and that's how/why did you decide to go the med-free route? This was more of just a personal preference. I also did some research, and there was some mixed articles on that if you can stay off of meds for as long as possible and you have IBD and kind of just see how your body does by just helping yourself with diet, that might be perfectly possible instead of jumping into a biologic and risking side effects when maybe your body could just be okay if you changed your diet. For me, it's been a little bit hard because I started on antibiotics and to get out of my first flare because the doctors were sure that I had an abscess and an infection in the abscess, so I was just really sick, had really high fevers, and they think that the infection was causing that. So I had antibiotics for 2 months, and then I slowly tapered off of those and went med-free for 2.5 months. I just found a couple of supplements that are highly rated for IBD. Definitely always research your supplements, side note. They're not regulated all the time, and so you want to find a company that is reliable and trustworthy. Usually the more expensive ones are better in this case. But don't pay an arm and a leg without doing the research, because companies know that you'll want to pay more thinking that you're going to get the better product, and it'll actually just be like powdered sugar. So just be careful where you buy your products, and I'm kidding, it's not actually powdered sugar, but it's just junk in a bottle. So be careful and be aware of what you're putting in your body. Talk to your doctor about it before you start taking anything new. I've been pretty bad with that, and so I need to take my own advice. But another factor of deciding to go the med-free route for me was not only to just rule out that maybe I can be self-sustained on a diet rather than biologics, was because I did not love my first doctor, and I didn't really trust him to pick the best medicine for me to start out. So I have an appointment in Boston at Brigham and Women's on July 31st. So I'll go up and talk to her about all of my different options and go from there. I'm not against medication at all. If it's what's going to be best for me and helps me the most, then I will definitely just do it. I'm also a strong believer of taking care of your body, and if you're not taking care of your body first, then nothing else is going to really work for you, especially if you are having like depression and anxiety. I think that medication is really helpful for those, but also learning how to meditate or take care of yourself and delegate your time to help manage your anxiety in addition to medication, I think that is a really important key thing that people miss. And a lot of times medications can be just treating symptoms instead of the actual cause. So I just really wanted to make sure that I know that I have Crohn's, but I also have migraines with aura, and so I really, before deciding on a biologic, wanted to go to the best doctor that I could find and get their advice based on all of my symptoms, everything that's going on with my body, to find out the best route for me. The third question is, how long were you sick before you were diagnosed? How many tests did you have to be diagnosed? I wasn't sick for that long. I think that I had symptoms about 2 years prior because I was having migraines with aura, and those have since, I've had 3 in the last 7 months, which is a huge indicator that I was probably just having migraines because of the inflammation levels in my body. So 5 years ago, when I was 17 or 18, I had a colonoscopy, and my scans were totally clear, so I had no symptoms 5 years back. But in the last couple of months, since January, I was feeling really sick. I did not want to eat anything. I thought that I was just maybe picked up like a parasite or something really strange. I had gone to California, and then on the flight back, it hit me so hard. There's no other way to describe it. I had, the last meal that I ate was 2 In-N-Out hamburgers. So good, so worth it. And then I got on the plane, and the turbulence was so bad. I was so stressed out and anxious. I didn't sleep at all. It was a red eye, and it was only 4 hours long, so I didn't sleep. And then I arrived, and my boyfriend picked me up, and I pretty much just collapsed and slept for 12 hours. So that's pretty much when it started. So I was really lucky, but it progressed really quickly over a month and a half. So by the end of February, I was so sick. I was having 104-degree fevers every single night. I was in so much pain. I could not go to the bathroom. I was terrified of going to the bathroom because I was going so often. I was trying to take the little sitz baths. It was just not so great. And I only had the colonoscopy before I was diagnosed because my mom was scrambling to find a doctor that would take me. And so I got into the last resort, just the last doctor standing, and he immediately said, I want to do a colonoscopy. And I was like, no, I don't want to do another one, because my last colonoscopy 5 years ago, everything went fine. However, afterwards, they had blown so much air into my stomach, it was so painful. So I just remembered that, and I was already in so much pain, I could not imagine going through that on top of it. I also had an MRE scheduled, but I had also had one of those before, and knew that like the stuff that you have to drink, I could taste it in my mouth and it made me want to cry, and I couldn't imagine doing that while feeling so awful too. So eventually, over the next week, I got so sick that I couldn't even get off the couch, I couldn't walk downstairs. So I did the colonoscopy. Definitely dragged my feet on that one, and was immediately diagnosed. The doctor came out and said, your intestines are so bad, you have so many ulcers that I didn't even need to like go into, or he couldn't even get into my small intestine. So I still don't really know the extent of the damage. That's something that I need to get checked out in Boston. So I'm sure that they'll order me an MRE, and now that I'm feeling a little bit better, it sounds awful and I don't want to do it, but I'll find out through that test how bad it actually is. But right now I think my Crohn's is classified as moderate to severe, even though I'm doing quite well right now, so thank you Cipro and Flagyl for getting me through. Before this becomes a half-hour long video, question number 3, how has your life been impacted in a positive way since your diagnosis? And another question was very similar and said, what are some of the silver linings you've found because of your diagnosis? Right off the bat, I can say that I'm taking care of myself a lot better. Before, I would throw myself into work. I love my jobs, but I do several different jobs and kind of managing those and try not to be with the horses from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. sometimes was hard for me, and so I would just like throw myself into work all the time, and a lot of times it was physical, so I was just tiring myself out. I wasn't balancing shoveling manure and dragging heavy manure buckets with yoga or stretching. So yeah, I've been learning to take care of myself a lot more, and that's something that has in turn taken care of and helped my mental health so much. Before, I just constantly felt really low, borderline depressed, where I didn't know why, because I was typically such a happy person, and I mean I still kind of have mood swings just because when I'm in pain I feel like that affects how I feel too, obviously. But for sure, ooh, lightning, I don't know if you just saw that, but anyways, yeah, my health is much better and I'm in the best shape I have ever been in since I was playing volleyball in high school. Another silver lining would definitely be starting the Lovely Digest. I have always felt like I needed to design in the healthcare sphere, but I could never tell you why. And then I got Crohn's disease, and I was crying because I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease and I had known nothing about it, and then all of a sudden I was looking it up on WebMD trying to find out more information and was just bawling my eyes out. But as I was sitting there, I realized, like, it hit me so hard. This is your purpose. As crazy as that sounds, those of you with Crohn's will probably understand. There comes a point where you realize this is just what I'm meant to do, and I just have to figure this out. And I feel like now I'm a part of a community where before I kind of felt lost. Like I graduated college and don't really see any of those friends anymore because I moved and I live far away from my boyfriend, or not too far, but I don't see him every day, and I just was feeling pretty lonely. So the fact that I can have my own little community helps so much. How long do your flare-ups usually last? Hours, days, or weeks? Well, because I can, or the last 2 times I was just put on antibiotics, I've never experienced coming out of it on my own. The reason why I didn't just try to ride out the second flare about a month ago was because I started getting fevers, and it was so incredibly painful, and I have quite a high pain tolerance. I'm sure that anyone with Crohn's does. So I couldn't handle it. It was to the point where I started to not sleep again, and my mental health was going downhill. So I figured I would just start the antibiotics and really try to push and get into Brigham and Women's, and I did, and the timing has worked out perfectly. So by the time I finish this round of antibiotics, I'll be at Brigham and Women's, and hopefully they'll have more of an answer for me. But yeah, the doctors didn't think that I would come out of the flare either time without being hospitalized. Not that I think I would have died, but I wasn't eating. So, man, this thunder is being really rude, interrupting my video. So yeah, the first flare, until I got help and got antibiotics, it was almost 2 months. And this last time, it was only a week and a half before I went down so hard before I had to start taking antibiotics again. So we shall see. I'm hoping that I'll finish this round of antibiotics without any problems, and then hopefully we'll have a solution or something that works for me in July, but we'll just go from there. Okay, next question. What is your go-to routine when you feel a flare-up coming on? Definitely cut back any potential sugar foods. I eat really plainly, just toast and bone broth with orzo and like some carrots if I can tolerate those in there, but I have to cook the carrots, so I just kind of throw everything into the bone broth and cook that up. Or my mom does that, because if I'm starting to feel sick, then she takes care of me. And she takes care of me every day, but a little bit extra. And then what else do I do? Oh, lots of yoga. I do yoga for digestion. It's on Do Yoga With Me with David Precision. If you want to look that up, it'll just pop up probably the first result on Google. But it is something that helps me so much. The breathing is a little funky, but if you're into yoga, it's really nice. It helps so much. Not even Tylenol can really help me when I'm in a flare or having pains indicating them about to go into a flare, so I'll just do lots of that yoga practice. And there's a long and a short version, so it's perfect if I'm not feeling well in the morning but I need to eat something, then I'll just do that before I eat, and it almost always like helps me at least for the day. How did your family do and feel when you were first diagnosed with IBD? My family was amazing. I'm very lucky. My mom was trying to help me figure out foods that I could eat while I was waiting to get into a doctor. She found the doctor that I got into. She called so many offices trying to see if someone would just take me. So she found me a doctor that would take me, because I was so sick that most of them were saying, oh, well, we can't get her in for a month or two. I don't think I would have lasted a month or two. So, and COVID was starting, so we would have gone to the emergency room, but it was starting to come out that the hospital, like, you shouldn't go to the hospital. So a lot of people were like nervous about that, and that was starting to pop up in the news. So we didn't want to go to the hospital, but I was in so much pain and just wanted to be fixed, and they were really, really helpful. My dad got up with me in the middle of the night, and my mom was with me the entire day, and my sister was so helpful after school and just kind of like printed me out coloring pages so that I could kind of have something to do to keep my mind off of it. But yeah, I'm really lucky, and I'm really lucky that I was living at home too. I moved home after college to be closer to where I work and to save a little money, and so I'm very lucky that I ended up here. So that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for bearing with me. If you stuck with me through this whole video, please make sure to like and subscribe. Leave a little purple heart in the comments below if you did stick with me through this whole thing. Or I think on desktop you actually can't comment emojis, so comment cronies for life if you've stuck with me through this whole video. Again, thank you so much for watching. If you have more questions, I'll leave the link below for where you can go to my Ask Emily page. Again, thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you again next time.